Hey guys, this is Rick coming at you with Weed to No Basis, the podcast for all things cannabis business related. Are you an entrepreneur? Have something you wanted to create, something you wanted to bring to life in the cannabis industry? Maybe you've always wanted to partake in one of the biggest industries in modern day history. This is the podcast to listen to.
So guys, we're back. We're back with another episode of Weed to No Basis. And remember, if you're watching this, it's because you are on a Weed to No Basis. And as a reminder, our audience is everybody, but really our target audience, our avatar, we talk about that in our mastermind, is the cannabis startup entrepreneur, the one who's in their early stages. You have a great idea, you want to take it to launch, or maybe you're stuck and you have a plateau. That's what we're about at Weed to No Basis. And I'm super stoked today for a few reasons, because I'm here with Madisen, or Maddie. I'm just going to call her Maddie. I like it. And we met in Reno, Nevada at a cannabis convention about, several months ago, right?
Yeah, we did.
And very conversational, Maddie. So, and we're talking, I'm in Texas and you're in Vegas right now.
Yeah, I'm here in Vegas. It's a beautiful day, Saturday. Not too hot, luckily. The summer hasn't been too bad. So figured I'd take an opportunity to just sit outside and enjoy the weather.
Nice. It looks like you're really enjoying the day. There's a sense of peace, as you know, the whole visual right now. That's a very peaceful kind of feeling right now. So very cool. So, we're going to talk about a few things. One of them is that your involvement with NORML, NORML, and then we're also going to talk about your business. So you're pretty busy. Tell us a little bit about your involvement with Nevada NORML, like what it is, what you do, and specifically what your role is.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. No, this is great. I can't believe I'm on a show talking about being a startup entrepreneur. That in and of itself is kind of surreal. But it all really began with my involvement with the nonprofit. So NORML is, it's a chapter-based structure organization. We're an entirely grassroots volunteer group, and we advocate for better cannabis laws in our community and at our state level as well as the federal level. So about 3 years ago, we founded our local Las Vegas chapter. Didn't really have too much experience with nonprofit organizations other than, volunteering for other criminal justice reform groups. But we started the organization really to just raise awareness to what some of the cannabis laws were that were, coming on in the wake of recreational, and, be a voice for consumers. That's really what we try to make sure that we get across, is that we're a consumer voice in this emerging market.
Gotcha. Love it. And just as a reminder, I know I said this prior to, but when I look down, it's only because I write a lot of notes. So it's not that I'm sending text messages or checking Instagram. Very cool. And, part of something I want to tease out also is that when I met you, you've been with Nevada NORML, it sounds like you said 3 years, but you're not a native Nevadian, right?
No, I'm not. I'm from upstate New York originally, actually, the Rochester, Buffalo region.
Nice. And so as such, I call you Maddie, and I don't want to mispronounce your last name. So say it because people are going to see it spelled out on this podcast, but how do you say your last name?
Okay, it's really easy. So it's Saglibene, and I always tell people that the G is silent like lasagna.
Saglibene. Nice. Italian?
Yes, of course.
Very cool. So you've been in Nevada. So let me ask you this. So you came to Nevada from upstate New York, the Rochester area. Yep. Why?
So right around late 2016, when the Question 2 campaign had really picked up some steam, which was the question that would go on the ballot for recreational adult use in Nevada for cannabis, I had seen that campaign had been launched, and as someone that was, frequenting Las Vegas just as a tourist, I was like, wow, this seems like an opportunity to get involved at the ground level with, something big. Didn't know really what to expect, just kind of knew that I was following something that wasn't going to happen anytime soon in New York. So just moved out and got involved with the campaign, knocked on some doors, called some people, tried to convince them why they should vote for regulating marijuana like alcohol. And it was really fulfilling, and it really got me connected. It allowed me to network with other people that felt the same way about cannabis, and also that were professionals. I mean, this was a campaign. This wasn't a grassroots effort. It was a very organized and tactful campaign with, professionals. It was the first time too I had experience with regular people who were advocating for this thing that was always just illegal and, looked down upon.
Nice. So you mentioned the word professional several times. Is it because there's this sense, maybe, in my words, not yours, that we need to elevate our game in the cannabis industry as a whole?
I definitely am a strong proponent of that. I think that, there was a time where it had to be a grassroots effort because no one was taking us seriously. But the fact of the matter is now we are being taken seriously. And so if we want to hang around, if we want to have our voices heard, definitely elevating the game is a must.
Nice. And I remember when we spoke, when we were up in Reno, and one of the things I mentioned was, so Nevada NORML, and there's chapters all over the US, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have 150 chapters across the United States.
So there's a lot. So these aren't necessarily state chapters. There may be city chapters.
Correct. Yep. And we, I represent both the Las Vegas and the Nevada chapter. So I represent our community here in Las Vegas. But then we went a little step farther to, decide to represent the state as a whole.
Gotcha. What's your official title with NORML?
I'm the executive director of Nevada NORML and the executive director of Las Vegas NORML.
Nice. I thought that's what it was. Okay. So you're the executive director of both Nevada. You're busy. And in a second, we're going to talk about how that doesn't even fill up all your time. We're going to talk about your actual business. But before we segue to that, talking about keeping on the NORML track so I asked you a question when we were in Reno, and I don't know if you remember, but it was about, so Nevada is now recreational legal. You can, one can now go down the Strip or somewhere in Vegas or Reno or wherever and buy a joint. And it's legal. I mean, of course, within, you got to be a certain age. And so I asked you, I said, so now that it's legal, what is the purpose of NORML? And you shared some of the things that are still needing to be worked on beyond legalization or recreationalization of marijuana, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of the, more Midwestern states or states down south, their NORML chapters are focused on that legalization effort, right? They're still what seems like light years behind us when it comes to that. But now that we have taken that leap in Nevada, it's really important that we talk about consumer protections. So that's something that, that's the term that I use, consumer protections. We are consumer advocates talking about the often inadvertent consequences, of legalization or some of the laws that just haven't quite caught up now to make sure that even though we're benefiting, our governments are getting lots of tax money off of this, how are the people being protected?
Nice. So the mission doesn't end with legalization.
No, not at all. Our work is really honestly just begun.
I love it. And that was an eye opener for me when you shared that, because I said, well, it's legalized. You can buy a joint here in Nevada. So what do you guys do? And so I just wanted to share that because I believe I'm rightly assuming that if I didn't know, and I'm pretty green to the industry, that there's a lot of folks who don't know that as well. And it needs to be said. So now I got to talk about one of my favorite food groups because, there is, of course, on the nutritional, dietetic, whatever they say, the recommended daily allowance. I'm a believer that pizza should be one of those. And so it is legitimately like one of my top favorite foods. Like I'm a pizza fiend. In fact, I think on my Instagram page about a week ago, I posted a picture of one of the just most beautiful pepperoni pizzas I've ever seen. And I had to take the picture and it proceeded to just destroy it. But you're in the pizza business.
I am. No, I too, like you, I share that same passion for pizza, both as just a consumer of it, but also I like to make it with my own two hands.
Nice. So there's something about maybe artistic about pizza creation.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's like it's a creative process, but also I think the reason why so many people are like, oh, it's my favorite is because of how versatile it can be. You can manipulate it and have it be all sorts of different ways to fit whatever your mood is. That's my favorite part.
Nice.
And pineapple does belong on pizza.
It does. So that's a fact. Pineapple does belong on pizza.
Fact. Yeah. We
Spoken
can
by.
just get that out of the way.
Okay, that's actually a question that I see across memes and Facebook and all that all the time. Spoken from a pizza professional creator, Italian.
Yeah.
We have the answer.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So,
We're not in the business to keep ingredients out.
nice. And so you mentioned pizza as it can be in conjunction with the mood. So what would be the pizza right now?
Right now, I would honestly go with something like maybe some green onions. I really like veggies, anything. So green onions, maybe some broccoli, some spinach, just chilling light before you get into, whatever you're going to go do for the day.
Nice. What's the name of your pizza place?
Pizza Stoned.
Pizza Stoned.
Pizza Stoned, yeah.
Now let's give some clarity, and let's either lift a veil because you live in Nevada, you live in a recreational state. So is your pizza infused with marijuana or CBD?
It's not. So unfortunately, I have to touch upon the legalities of that. Unfortunately, even though, CBD has, legality, the FDA has not quite caught on board with that. So there's no way for me to legally infuse the pizza yet. And I'm not sure that that's really in the cards for me either. I'm seeing that there's going to be a lot of those kinds of businesses coming online, but I'm having fun just feeding everybody right now a classic dish.
Nice. And one of the nuances of of being a restaurateur, you specifically, is, at least last time we talked, is you had a food truck. You're a mobile pizza place, right?
Yeah. So that was part of the real challenge, especially as a startup entrepreneur. I knew that I wanted to be flexible, and that, traveling was always appealing to me, being able to do different types of events. But the food truck industry is highly, highly regulated. So in addition to just having all of my, regular challenges of trying to start up a business, I had to familiarize myself with the regulations and some of the licensing procedures, which are antiquated in a lot of respects and just restrictive. I kind of have a theory. I think that the casino industry and even the Resorts Association, I think that they've purposely tried to keep mobile vendors out because, they don't want people to leave their casinos or, their resorts to go get street food. They want to make sure that they stay there. So a lot of these properties are even starting their own food trucks, which is interesting.
Very cool. So you become kind of a regulatory expert. You've learned to navigate regulatory issues in a highly regulated industry like marijuana, and push that agenda forward, and in as a restaurateur. So you're battling from a couple of different, it's like you have them coming from left and right.
Yeah. But, honestly, that's just another thing. I was saying my experience with the nonprofit really just benefited me when I began my journey as an entrepreneur, because I had some of that experience with regulations and reading, and also just kind of knowing that, you have to pay attention to those types of details, because if not, you can get fines. It can cost your business more. So you want to be preventative in those ways.
Gotcha. And how is business?
Business is going great. I actually just had the extreme honor of catering for the World Series of Poker, which is a huge deal, obviously, for Las Vegas every year in July. And I was able to crank out 90 pizzas for the production crew, and that was so fun. That was great.
Congrats. I wrote that down. I'm putting a star next to it. That is so words. I mean, I'm not a poker player, but everybody's heard of, World Series of Poker, and cranked out 90 pizzas. That's pretty badass. And that's going to lead me to my next thing, because what we talk about here on Weed to Know Basis is how we can move the needle for the cannabis startup entrepreneur forward in a very authentic and just truthful way. So you told me a story, and I actually wrote a blog about it. Did I write a blog? Oh, email. I sent an email about, and I didn't call you specifically. It was the lesson. It was a powerful lesson, a powerful startup lesson. And it was, I think I titled it the $15,000 mistake. And So tell me real quick, when did you launch Pizza Stoned?
So it's been a long process because I did end up having to do a complete custom build of my trailer, which was an unexpected thing. But I officially launched and opened up my windows in April of this past year.
Okay, so April of 19, of 2019.
Yeah.
Okay, and prior to that, so obviously now if we're kind of reverse engineering, and just to paint a visual, because some folks are listening to this on their podcast and some folks are watching this live on YouTube, is so you have a pizza food truck called Pizza Stone today. You have the ability to crank out 90 pizzas for organizations as big and cool as WSOP, World Series of Poker. You launched in April, but to get to that point where you turn the ignition, fired up the oven, and we're throwing pepperonis down, everybody, all startup entrepreneurs go through a process. And there was a part of, if I remember correctly, part of the distinction or the uniqueness of your pizza was the oven, right?
Yeah.
So tell us, and I mentioned that for a few reasons. One, because if a business or business owner, a startup, whatever, doesn't have something that identifies them as unique. I mean, pizza it's a cluttered, crowded industry, right? So we need to figure out what makes us distinct. What makes us unique? And part of yours, not all of it, but part of it was the oven. Tell us about the oven, and then take us back to the $15,000, the 15K mistake.
Okay, perfect. No, so really being unique was something that was always important to me because, again, pizza can be something that's really drawn out. So I actually decided that I wanted to do the wood-fired pizza thing, mostly because I care about, economic sustainability, being environmentally conscious. So trying to minimize how I could use a generator was actually something that was really important to me. Okay, so found this beautiful oven. There are these ovens that are imported out of Italy, brick oven, beautifully made. They last decades and decades and decades. I laid my eyes on this oven. I'm like, that's the one. I have to have it. I did my research, of course, on the oven. It turned out to be exactly what I knew it was, just awesome, which is why it was a $15,000 literally brick oven with no knobs, no mechanical parts, just brick and, some grout. So I had this oven imported from Italy, thinking I was going to install it onto an existing food truck, maybe, something from the 1980s or an old U-Haul, something like that I could actually afford now that I just blew half of my money on this oven. And turns out it was too heavy to do anything like that with. It was actually 4,000 pounds. So no suspension or, axles on an old ice cream truck were going to handle that kind of weight. So that ended up being, I had to completely custom build the entire vessel around the oven.
Wow. Okay. So, and I'm going to dive in. So it's kind of like if we were to wrap a phrase around that, and I'm not a carpenter, but there's this phrase that says measure twice, cut once.
Uh-huh.
And is it fair to say that you didn't measure twice? And
yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely thought that I had done my research. And looking back, I mean, I'm still confident that I did, but the thing is there wasn't that much information available, right? So when there wasn't information available, I guess I just thought that I was gonna write my own way of doing what I couldn't find out for myself. And I ended up really kind of having to really start from the beginning now because I had to seek financing. So that started my whole process really from the beginning, and even more so because when you need to get financing, any lender, any reputable source of income, they're going to want financial projections. They're going to want a business plan. They're going to really talk about dive in. They're going to really want to dive into what's your plan. So I didn't clearly I didn't really have that at that time. All I had now was an oven. So I actually had to, write a business plan. I had to get financial projections. What are financial projections? How do I know how much money I'm going to make? How do I know how much money I'm going to spend, or what these things are going to cost? So that process alone, I would say realistically, Rick, was like 8 months. I mean, I was going to the supply stores and writing down how much the supplies were going to cost me. Why? Because I can't just go to the bank and say I need $50,000 and then not explain exactly how I'm going to spend that $50,000. So that was more work than I expected too.
Yeah, I think something to take from that story as I'm listening to you talk, and for the folks listening or watching, is the biggest lesson is you didn't quit. And a lot of folks, those are showstoppers. Writing an extensive business plan could be a showstopper, especially for somebody, and I don't know about you, but I've never written one for our companies. To have to write a business plan, and sometimes they're pretty long. And
yeah, like 13 pages.
Yes. But I would imagine it got you in more tune to your business.
100%.
So you didn't quit, and that's kudos. There's much respect, because a lot of folks, those are moments where it's like, I need to go back to doing what I was doing before, but you didn't. And 8 months, I didn't know that part. So it delayed you, 4, 8, 12, 3/4 of a year.
That's just the first part of the delay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so like in that 8 months, I'm, trying to, again, rely on, some of my networking from, NORML and things like that. But being involved in the nonprofit also helped me to realize that there's other nonprofits out there that are designed to help, people for just about anything. So I actually relied a lot on nonprofit organizations in the community to help me with that business plan, to help me with that financial projection analysis. Really, I have to say, if it wasn't for the Small Business Administration, a community organization called SCORE, a women's business development organization, I really don't think I would have had the toolkit to write as strong of a business plan as I did, and what I was able to ultimately submit after that 8 months was something that I'm still super proud of. Like, I mean, hopefully someday I'll be able to go back and look at that business plan and be like, wow, that was, it was the beginning to a new chapter in my life, but it was a lot of work, it was a lot of work.
Yeah. Anything worth achieving is worth putting in the effort, though. So you launched just a few months ago, basically the spring of this year. When did you believe you were going to launch?
I thought I was going to get this oven, and then I was going to buy a used food truck, and I was going to be operating within 2 months from that, a year and a half ago. But, then once I secured my business plan, once I had the financial projections, I still had to go to a bunch of banks. I still had to try to even, I was able to pin a couple of banks against each other to get myself a better interest rate and, better financing package. But that process took a couple of months. Turns out you're not the only client trying to get some money out of them, right? They're going to call you back when they're going to call you back. So there was that wait. And then once I got the money, I had to build out the truck. That process took 6 months. The building process, I was very involved in the actual build. So I was driving out to Fresno where I had it built, every couple of weeks, just, analyzing the progress and making sure that everything was going the way that I had wanted it to, because again, I had just had to seek financing to do this. If there were any bumps along the road this time, I was going to be in real trouble because I didn't have, endless capital to fix anything.
Wow. Okay. So you launched in 19. You had intended to launch about a year prior. So let's say early 18.
Yeah.
And you may have been thinking and begin planning for this at the end of 2017.
Yeah. Yep. Great.
So about 2 years, it's been about 2 years on this journey. And something again to point out as especially we talk about this in our mastermind group, is that this is not a sprint. Yes, we're grinding every day, but we're doing it for the long term. We're not playing for today. We're playing for the decade long plan. And that's something that needs to be pointed out, is because especially as related to entrepreneurship and business, but specifically cannabis business. And I'm not saying you're a cannabis business, but is because it's such a cool thing now and it's hot. Everybody wants to get into the green rush. Yeah. We think we can jump in, start something, and we become a 7-figure business in a matter of months. Yeah. And you ground it out for over 2 years. 2 years. That's power. That's power.
And then that wasn't even licensing, Then it's like, so you get your plan, you secure the lending, you get your business, you've got this business, and then there's licensing. Now this, nobody prepared me for. Like I said, I relied heavily on these community groups that literally touched on just about every other area of business or problem that I thought I was going to run into, but there was a major oversight. Nobody realized that mobile food vendors, or inadvertently, nobody warned me that mobile food vendors in the state of Nevada are considered a regulated industry. So just like casinos, brothels, dispensaries, bars, there is a privilege to this type of license, okay? So, that comes with a monetary, restriction, barrier, but also it's just a headache. I mean, it's a lot of bureaucratic runaround, paperwork, fingerprinting, interviews, taking one document from this agency to another agency. And I have to say, it's no different in cannabis. It's actually even worse for cannabis. So that was really eye-opening during that experience as well.
Dang, you're just dropping all kinds of bombs here. That's awesome. I mean, and then, and let's kind of rewind, is you're not even from Nevada or Vegas. You moved there just a few years ago from New York. So you're not only launching something in a regulated industry, and I didn't realize that until you just shared that, but you're doing it in essentially a foreign city, halfway across the country. And did your family come with you, or did they stay in New York?
Most of my family's still in New York. I have a couple people out here, thank God.
Gotcha. So you have some peeps there.
I have some peeps.
You have some peeps. Nice. Is the truck out right now somewhere in Vegas firing up some pizzas?
No, not today. Tomorrow, though.
Okay. Nice. And do you man the truck? Like, are you in there?
100%. Yeah. There's if the truck is not without me, for sure. Chances are I'm the one that's actually delivering the final product to the customer, probably 9 times out of 10 through the window.
So what would you say is not necessarily next, but what do you have planned for Pizza Stone, over the next 12 months? If we were to look ahead to 12 months, what is your big goal or goals for your business?
And see, it's really cool that you asked me this. And I feel like I wish more people would ask just questions about the long term in general, because initially it wasn't even something that I thought about, Rick. It was just kind of well, how am I going to get through here right now, today? And so when I started actually talking to more successful entrepreneurs and business owners at a level that far, exceeds myself, I realized that you have to have that plan. You have to start talking about, is it scalability, right? Or am I considering multiple food trucks? Am I considering, maybe a brick and mortar someday? To be honest, I really don't know. And it's something that I'm constantly thinking about, because I know that in order to, slay whatever that goal is, I'm going to have to start thinking about it and chiseling away at it. But it's something right now. I think that I do know this is just experience for my next startup business. I do think that I will start something else up. I think that, as I've heard you say, I've been bit by the bug.
Nice. So you are an emerging serial entrepreneur.
I think so.
Very cool. That's the kind of stuff that fires me up. I'm I totally dig it. And to that point, that's where this show originated. It's we have challenges in the cannabis industry. And even though I don't sell products or anything, we're basically media. We realize that by creating our own content in our show, we create our own content and own our own show. We don't have to, of course, Facebook can remove a video or whatnot, but what we are creating here, it's distinctly ours. And so what an incredible story. As I listen to you, I love words and the power of words, and the word just kept emerging as you're talking, and the word is moxie. And just because there's some kind of energy and your style and just your presence, and it's inspirational. It really is. And yeah, it truly is.
One of the things too that I just have to say, like, especially for anyone that's considering going into business, is find a mentor. Find multiple mentors. I talked about those community groups that I relied on heavily, but also I have a lot of mentors. I have a lot of people that I have no shame in saying they helped me understand why I needed to do something, or why I should look at something differently, or why I was wrong, or why I was right. Or maybe sometimes they'll see a potential in you that you didn't see in yourself. I think that having a mentor is just a vital step in also your journey to a successful business.
For sure. Interesting. Do you think there's ever potential to see you on Shark Tank one day?
Wow, that's really funny that you say that, because I'm actually doing a Shark Tank panel at ASD Market Week next week. I'm actually going to be on a panel judging some CBD and cannabis startup products. So yeah, actually, in fact.
Really? So there's going to be a CBD cannabis section at ASD next. And tell us what ASD is. I mean, I know what it is, but just share with the audience.
Yeah, so ASD is really just a big kind of counterculture show that comes to Vegas annually. It's primarily focused around smoking apparatus. Now they're increasingly getting more involved in the CBD side of things. So they've really decided to focus on CBD a lot more this year, which is why they'll be having tons of speakers, panelists, educational presentations focused specifically on CBD. And then they're doing that Shark Tank setup where entrepreneurs are going to actually bring us their products and, maybe get, some positive feedback or some criticisms about how it can be better.
Very cool. That's exciting stuff. So you're taking that energy and that wisdom and what you've learned, and now you're on the other side of the table. You'll be imparting some wisdom for some young startup entrepreneurs in the cannabis space.
I'm excited to be really looking at it from like a consumer perspective too, because I feel like a lot of people are looking at it from, that entrepreneur or business standpoint, but I always have a consumer brain first on just about everything. I'm always thinking about being in the consumer shoes first.
Gotcha. Very cool. Just a random question. So when you man your truck, is it just you or do you have employees?
I just brought on one employee, but generally it's just been me and my boyfriend. Yeah.
Okay. So the two of you manning it, and you did bring on an employee. Gotcha. And that brings a whole nother kind of bucket of things. One is somebody's relying on. I mean, honestly, there's a level of responsibility that we feel as entrepreneurs when we hire somebody, because it becomes not just us. There's now another human being that, yes. So very cool. What's next, like for you, and then for Nevada NORML, and then for Pizza Stoned?
Well, I know for Nevada NORML, we're really ramping up our efforts. We're getting ready to go to Washington, D.C. in September. We'll actually be meeting with our 6 federal representatives in their offices in DC to talk about legalization at the federal level. We'll be talking about some federal legislation that will really help veterans. One of the things that our organization is passionate about is making sure that we're helping our veterans. So there's actually 3 pieces of legislation pending at the federal level that will mandate the VA to stop dragging their feet on helping our vets. We'll be advocating for that. As well as advocating for expungement at the federal level. So all these states are coming online. They're, implementing these adult use programs. But again, paying close attention to the consumer, what is being done to help them, move forward with their lives so that they don't have to check that they're, previously a felon on a housing application when, their child's school is being funded by those tax dollars.
Interesting perspective. I know that there are people who think about those, but it's, as I'm hearing you say it, those are valid points. And, just a few short years ago, I would never have wanted to partake in maybe a bad choice of word, but in anything having to do with this industry. And I may be one of those folks who has come from that majority, or let's just say the uneducated, and have firmly, and I believe, entrenched myself into this industry because I was raised anti-cannabis. The arguments, what you just shared with me a few years ago, I would have said, that's just too bad. This is, it's marijuana.
Yep.
There's nothing good from it. And sorry, that's the way the law's been. But
right.
Simply by listening and observing and honestly meeting people like you, my thought process has radically changed. And well, that's not radically. I think I've just grown. And I think that's what it sounds like. Really, a lot of what you do is there's a lot of education and just help people grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, it's also my job to mobilize people, right? So part of my job too is to invoke passion in others, right? We're volunteers. Really what I want more than anything is for you or whoever is listening to be able to find their voice. We don't have to share the same opinion. We might not necessarily see eye to eye on everything, but if so, even more reason for you to use your voice, participate in democracy, just like we're all, very well aware that we have to, be very hands-on and involved in our business that we're, putting so much time and effort into. We can do the same for our government because those things impact our businesses. They impact our lives and how we're living. So when people, come to me and they're like, oh, I wish that this was a possibility. I wish that I could start this kind of business right now. It's like, you don't have to wish. You can use your voice, you can write a letter. I just hope that we as NORML chapters and advocates, even what you're doing, I just hope to inspire others,
Very nice. You've done a good job of that today. I know that after this, literally after we wrap this up, we're headed to a friend of ours' grand opening. It's a CBD dispensary. They're being called more and more dispensaries here in San Antonio. There's well over 24 now. He's been a good. They're popping up everywhere. Yes. So yeah, CBD stores, very well done. Very well done. Are springing up everywhere. So after this, we're headed over there, and we're going to do some live feeds and just really promote it in a very responsible and ethical way, because people need to your point, not only find their voice but express it. So good on you. That's awesome. This has been like such a cool conversation, and then just having met you in person in the past and, staying connected and then hearing your story, kind of repeated and then added even more, like the whole World Series of Poker thing, like pretty cool. That's just badass. Congratulations on your success.
No, thank you so much. And I have to just tell you, it was so exciting to the day that you sent me the email and you invited me on the show. I mean, that was exciting. Like those kinds of things, they're exciting for an entrepreneur, when somebody else acknowledges you and, shouts you out and, gives you a little pat on the back, that stuff feels good. So, I always take a lesson from that too. And it's like, now that I know how that feels, I want to today go out and find an entrepreneur and I want to go give them a pat on the back,
Yeah. High five, right?
Yeah. Keep it rolling.
Yeah. Changing the world one pizza at a time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. So Maddie, where can people find you? Like digitally or online? Where can folks go to find you?
Yeah, so my personal Instagram is at Maddy Sally, MADISALLY. I am more down to talk about pizza or cannabis or anything on that account. That's totally cool. People can follow our Las Vegas and Nevada NORML chapters at Las Vegas and Nevada NORML. And Pizza Stoned is at Pizza Stoned LV. So PIZZA STONED LV.
Nice. Very cool. We will be putting some of those links here. Website, does Pizza Stone have a website?
We're working on the website. You asked me a little bit, where is Pizza Stone going? The one thing I will say is I'm learning more about marketing. I realize that marketing is very, very important. And so I'm spending a lot more time now just figuring out, how do I want to market? What is going to be the best way? And so I'm getting my website up and going, and some of my, digital marketing materials, brochures, that kind of stuff.
Nice. I was about to start to wrap and then, talk about the pizza. So if people go to Vegas, and how can they actually find you? Like if somebody hears this and said, I'm going to be in Vegas next week, I got to get a slice of that pizza. So
right now, unfortunately, I haven't solidified anything quite that, quite that regular for me to recommend. But I'm doing a lot of private catering. If somebody wants to find me, somebody wants to see where I'm at, they can definitely recommend to their favorite dispensary or to anyone they know in town that, they have me out. I'm doing a lot of dispensaries, doing a lot of like cross-promotional stuff, working with different cultivations to do basically promos, right? You spend $50 at Planet 13, come out and get a free slice of pizza from Pizza Stone.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very cool. Maddie, it's been awesome catching up again and having a chat and hearing more and learning more about you. But more than that is just your willingness to be so open and sharing your story with the community at large.
Thank you. No, thanks for putting this show together. Thanks for doing this. I have a lot of respect for what you're doing, especially because I just think that you bring a very awesome perspective to it. You pay very close attention to words, which I think is really important, because sometimes we don't pay attention enough to our words or what we're putting out there. And so just raising that awareness to be more conscious about that, I have a lot of respect for that. And I appreciate that you, like we started this, you are a professional, and you help, you're helping others, raise it to that next elevated level. So thank you for doing what you do.
Very cool. Much appreciated. So guys, as we wrap up, I just want to remind you, if you're watching this or listening to this, go back and listen to some of these lessons. Listen to what Maddie talked about, what she shared pretty openly, and not just the content of what she said, but the context of just being open and willing to share. And because remember, if you're watching this or listening to this, because you too are on a Weed to Know basis. Thank you guys so much. Have an awesome rest of the day.